MacVoices is supported by eero, the wireless mesh network solution that you need. Visit eero.com to get yours and use the coupon code MacVoices to receive free overnight shipping. And by Smile, the makers of world-class software like PDFpen for Mac, PDFpenPro for Mac, PDFpen for iPhone and iPad, PDFpen Scan Plus for iPhone and iPad, TextExpander for Mac, and TextExpander for iPhone and iPad. Learn more about all their great products at smilesoftware.com. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we try to cover a lot of the major conferences and trade shows that go on in the tech industry, and especially those that affect the Mac industry. And at this point, there's probably none more important than the MacTech Conference held in November. Neil Ticktin of MacTech here to tell us all about this year's conference. Neil, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Chuck. It's always fun to come on Mac Voices and good to talk to you. It's been so many years of us doing this together that it's just been a phenomenal experience to hear what Mac Voices listeners have to say and hear the great questions you have. And,
well, I'll try to live up to that.
There you go.
Yeah, you're right. We've been doing this for a long time, and MacTech just rolls on, and unfortunately, it always seems to hit at a time of year that it just, I can't get away from the office. But every time, in fact, again, as I said before we did the interview, I was looking at the website thinking, man, that looks like a lot of fun, but more importantly, a lot of great content, a lot of meat to this. And that's what I think MacTech is probably best known for.
Yeah, I think, so just to clarify in here, we have two types of events. So we have our regional one-day events that a lot of people go to. We've done 9 of those this year, and we're done for the year on those. And then once a year, we have this flagship event. And MacTech Conference is the flagship. And this year, it's in November. It's, as you said, it's the week before Thanksgiving, so it's November 15, 16, and 17. It's in Los Angeles. And then the day before, we have pre-conference workshops. And the essence of what MacTech Conference is about, we have this tagline for it that, keep thinking, should we change the tagline? It's like, this is really what it's about. And it's the people, the content, and the experience. And the idea behind MacTech Conference is that we want you to be thinking out of the box. Not like crazy out of the box in there, but useful out of the box in there. What is it that you want to try to accomplish? How are other people getting it done? How does Apple's, theory of new OSs and products and whatnot, how does the rubber hit the road, or, the releases hit reality in this case? This is the first event after all of the things have been released, whether it's phones and OSs or whatever, but there's this big batch that happens every fall, and we're the first major event that happens in that time frame. So now we get to actually deal with all of this stuff that Apple has put out there, all this theory of stuff which they do in the form of new products and new OSs. So when we bring people together, we're looking to give them a great education on some of the most important topics to help them get up to date on the way that the influencers are doing it. The people that really know this stuff, how are they going about doing what they're doing? And how do they get a chance to talk to their cohorts and share those experiences, whether it's another speaker or it's another attendee or it's a sponsor that has a great solution? What is the way that MacTech gets to do and bring it all together for you? And that's what conference is about.
So is MacTech, or has it evolved to a point that is principally a developers conference, or is it a power users conference, or is it all of those, or something else?
No, this is really the event. Originally, the magazine itself was a programmer magazine, so we always have a little bit of that era that's in it. There's this notion of DevOps, and for 10 years or more, before the word DevOps even came about, we've always been touting with folks that, look, if you're thinking through these solutions, you need to develop them with operations in mind. The idea of DevOps is something that MacTech has been doing for more than a decade, but now it has a name. So we don't necessarily attract or go after specifically DevOps or specifically developer or whatever. We're really an IT event, right? So it's IT pros and enterprise. It's people that are consultants and specialties, or they're serving maybe SMB, but it's the people that really are trying to think strategically about what it is that they're doing, whether it's their job or for their clients or how to grow their business as a consulting organization or whatever. And some of the developer aspects of it, whether it's writing scripts or writing code, these things are integrated into the things that we're doing. But there isn't like, in the old days, we used to have like a developer track and an IT track. We don't even do that anymore because you should be thinking about DevOps in each of the places that you're going through and doing things. And that's what Conference Day is. So this year, we have something like, I'm going to say 40 or more sessions over a couple of different tracks over multiple days of workshops and labs and sessions and things along those lines. And they span a variety of different, call it groupings of topics, if you will. I mean, things like the system behind the system, if you will, like what's going on under the hood, what's going on at the command line, those types of things, logs and stuff like that. There's strategy and process, there's storage, there's security, there's some programming and scripting. There is things on deployment, obviously, if it's an enterprise event, clients and communications. There's even ways to get certified on some stuff, whether it's the Apple certifications or something like the Proactive Support Professional certification that you can do. So there's all of these different ways of looking at things and all these different opportunities for people to have and learn from some of the best in the industry. And that's what we're doing this year.
And you just ripped off a whole lot of topics, each one of which, maybe if you combine two of any of them, you'd have more than enough for a single conference. So trying to hit all those things and have them be substantive and meaningful, that's got to be a huge challenge. That means you've got to get great presenters and you've got to get people that know what they're doing so that they can condense things down and pack it in so it becomes something that is worth listening to.
Yeah, I think, and you're right. It's very much of a challenge to do that. But we've got some great people on it. I mean, Ed Marzak is our sessions chair this year, and we have some co-sessions chairs. We have Nadine Richmond, who was with us last year as well, and also Andy Espo, who's a new co-sessions chair, and he's working on some of the things from like a consultant point of view, and some of that kind of tracks that are there. And at the end of the day, sessions and topics that are there. But at the end of the day, what it all comes down to is reaching out to some of the best people in the industry. Some of them that have spoken at our event before and other events, if you will, and other ones that people don't really know a lot about, but they're phenomenal individuals, willing to share and expand on what it is they do. They want to hear from people. They want to know what they're going to do. They want to know that it makes sense for them to do. So, for example, we have people like Greg Nagel or Joel Rennick or Charles Edge or Alan Hancock or Ben Levy or let's see, the list goes on and on and on. How about in the realm of people that you might know in your realm, Adam and Tanya Angst are going to be there. Brian Best, Charles Edge, Dave Elliott from FileWave, J.D. Strong from Watchman and Strong Solutions, Jason Miller, Jeanette Lee, who's phenomenal on teaching about Wi-Fi, Joe Kissel, John Kern, who did this incredible course last year at conference and was he definitely wanted to see him back. Justin Esker, who runs the ACES conference, he's actually running a workshop and doing some stuff with us this year as well. Kelly Guimond, Leon Lincoln, who's a phenomenal teacher. He's going to be talking about command line tools and troubleshooting and stuff. Lillian Ho from GitHub, Matt Doyle from Google, Matt Schnicker from Walt Disney, Max Buxton from Circle, Meg Ciliberti from Shopify is doing a whole bunch of stuff. Mike Lynn, Pepin Bruin from Duo, Phil Goodman from Goodman Consulting, Rich Smith, Sal Segoyan, Scott Neal, who's phenomenal doing stuff as well, Sean Collins, who's an Apple trainer, Thomas Reed from Malwarebytes, Tim Standing from OWC, who's going to be talking about new file formats. Oh my God, what is that bringing to us? And then of course our keynote speaker this year is Trammell Hudson, and Trammell is the guy that found all kinds of vulnerabilities with rootkits and firmware, with Thunderstrike and Thunderstrike 2. And this guy is so talented that he decided he wanted to rewrite the Canon operating system for his camera, and so you have Magic Lantern as things that he's done. So it's pretty phenomenal group of people that I just ripped through very quickly in telling them they're all really interesting folks who have a different perspective on things, who know how to share, who want to help people just do things better. And that's what makes this event so phenomenal.
A lot of the names you mentioned have been on MacVoices, or I know them, or at least by reputation. So, yeah, that's a phenomenal list. I mean, and I hesitate to even mention one because then I will have not mentioned the rest. So,
yeah. Notice how I went ripping through the list very quickly because I was afraid to do exactly that.
There's some in there that obviously would probably play a little more to my interests and things that I do. But that's true with any conference. So,
yeah, and we have some really neat things that's going on this year in the way that we're doing some of the scheduling, where there are some sessions that are like double length sessions, so that we can go deeper dive on things. There is some sessions where one will play into another. You can go to either one separately, or you can go to both, and they will dovetail together on it. But it gives people some additional choice, some additional flexibility, and it allows them to get a little bit deeper into the topics than some of the ways that, sometimes you see topics just not get enough time in there. And with something that we're taking really seriously this year and making sure that there's ample time to get a good grasp on something.
This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Smile, the makers of world-class productivity software, including TextExpander for Mac. TextExpander is one of those utilities I can't live without because it saves me so much time and so much effort. With just a few keystrokes, or snippets as TextExpander refers to them, I can quickly insert email signatures, standard language into letters, blog posts, documents. Anywhere I can enter text, I can use TextExpander to save me time. Best of all, though, is the fact that you can do it too. That's one of the beauties of TextExpander. Anyone can use it because of its flexibility and ease of use. If you have something you type frequently, say your full name, just go to TextExpander, type it in, or even paste it in if you happen to have it on the clipboard, and assign it a snippet. It's that easy. Then, the next time you need to type your name, just use the snippet, and voila, it's there. Now that's a small example, but what if you could do that with your bio, or some boilerplate for a legal document, or the Declaration of Independence? You can, because it's that easy to set up TextExpander to do your bidding. That's not all TextExpander can do. Lines of code, fill-in snippets, forms, the list goes on, but if you never go beyond basic snippets, that's okay. TextExpander is well worth the money in saved time. You can download a free trial of TextExpander right now from Smile at smilesoftware.com. See what it can do for your productivity, and then buy it from smilesoftware.com. I know you're going to love being more productive with TextExpander. That's TextExpander from Smile, the makers of world-class productivity software at smilesoftware.com. Thanks to Smile for their ongoing support of MacVoices. Your point about you being one of the first conferences, or the first conference after the major OS rollouts that seem to happen every fall, do the presenters drive the content, or do the audiences drive the content, or do you drive the content? Because you're obviously, you're trying to match all that stuff up together. So where do you even start?
Well, we start with getting a feel from a lot of the speakers as to topics that they think are important and relevant to do. But we also have objectives that are there. I mean, there's no way that we were doing a conference this year that didn't have a major element on security. Are you kidding me? So we've done this lineup that we have for security. We'll just take that as an example in there. I mean, we have everything from an updated analysis to the state of how Apple's EFI security is being done. Things like upvote, which is if we're not able to talk about upvote, we're going to talk about Santa, which is a way of of whitelisting individual things, and it's done as it's a binary way to basically say good or bad, and groups come together for it. And so upvote is something it's an open source project that will do that quite well. We've got things like one speaker that's talking about cybersecurity is dead. Cyber resilience is what people really need to be focusing on. Thomas Reed's going to talk about code signing flaws in Mac OS, which is a lot scarier than people may realize necessarily. Of course, the keynote speaker is somebody who's got very much security in mind. And there's a lot of things where we even have things like, how do you go and sit down with your client or your boss and talk about security and make sure that they actually get it? How do you have them not be the CEO of Equifax right now, who should have been asking questions, because that was a very well-known flaw that is out there. There's no reason it should have been patched. It should not have been patched. And why weren't they taking that kind of stuff seriously? Maybe helping present the importance of security to them would avert those types of situations.
That's incredibly valuable. I mean, being in the C-suite right now means that you have to have either a good technological understanding of some of this stuff, or at least somebody that you can really trust. Right. And realistically, trying to have a technological skill and all the management skills, I'm not sure that's realistic. So you need a real trusted lieutenant as your head of IT or your CTO or whatever.
Yeah, there's another element to it, which is there are a number of things that a non-technical person that needs to be concerned about technology should be doing and should be thinking about and should be asking. And those are probably the things, that's really the wave of the future on it. If you're not going to be technical and you're going to focus on other areas of the business where your expertise are, you at least need to be asking the right questions. So what are those right questions? And that's another topic for another day in there, but it's something that we put a lot of thought into, and it's very interesting to see how that comes down.
Yeah, and when you brought up security, actually, you took one of my questions, because that was going to be one of the things. I know that you'd mentioned security in the list of topics. Some of the people you mentioned are obviously security oriented to one degree or another. Yeah. So I'm glad we. I mean,
the lineup of people doing security, they're superstars.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Thomas Reed, from Malwarebytes. Hello, it's like this is as good as some of this kind of stuff gets. And Chad Calise, who's not spoken at a conference, MacTech conference before, and that we found recently among some other travels and whatnot. The way he presents cyber resilience is so interesting to do. It's so easy for people to grasp and engage, and it's a different way of thinking about what you're doing. And it's really quite phenomenal. But it's not just them. I mean, the guys from Duo that have done this great analysis of how Apple's EFI security works. And there's just a lot more to it. But it's more than just security, right? We have a whole series of sessions on like strategy and process. Like how do you, Meg from Shopify is going to be talking about lessons in growth and ambiguity and how to manage that. We have a talk on Simeon at GitHub and the coevolution of that culture. We have Kelly Guimont doing a session on don't forget the new admin. How do you make sure that your new people coming up are part of your culture and understand what the heck is going on? Or things like Joe Kissel is going to talk about the iPad for Mac curmudgeons. How can you take advantage of all that the iPad has to offer? You might be a Mac person, but there are ways that you can use the iPad and have it, really make sense. And you should be understanding that, at least for your clients and the people that you're supporting. Matt Schnicker, who's been at Disney Animation, is going to talk about staying relevant as a manager. And Mary Conahan, who's a new speaker for a conference this year, has put in a whole bunch of ticketing systems. And I know the owners of companies that she's done this for, and how much of a difference it made to them in putting in a great ticketing system and really understanding this stuff. This is just strategy and process stuff, and that doesn't even get to somebody like a Brian Best, who's going to talk about making the most of your opportunities, or the workshop that we have, the pre-conference workshop that we have, that is all about the art of business consulting and how that may play out. So you've now covered only two of the long list of types of sessions that we're going to be doing. And there's more.
A lot more.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. MacTech also has taken sort of the approach that once I walk in, you take care of everything. I mean, I'm yours in a very positive way for the 2, 3, 4 days. Yeah. From breakfast through dinner, through the late night, and talk a little bit about not only what that means and how that works, but also the impact of that in the overall conference experience.
So there's a lot of ways for techs of all types to learn online or by reading things or whatever the case may be, and those are amazing things to do, and they're especially good for very task-oriented, resource-based, reference-based type of learning. I need to do this. Go look it up. You get it done. Okay? So that's really, really useful, for people to be able to do. But what a conference does is it allows people to get face-to-face, to look into each other's eyes, to form a bond that might carry on to an online relationship as time goes on in here, that allows somebody to ask a question, maybe 6 months from now, and get a much more relevant answer because they took the time to have a little bit of a bond with somebody. So our job at this conference is not just to present great content, but our job is to make sure that we are building relationships. We call this a relationship generation event. And we have seen so many people change their careers, start up new partnerships, go in a completely different direction with a task they had at their business. We've seen so many huge wins for people over the years because, we've been doing this for a while now. This is, nearly a decade of MacTech Conference at this point. And there isn't anything else out there that's been around as long as we have other than WWDC, which is a developer event. It's not an IT event and hasn't been. That was one of the reasons we started MacTech Conference at that point. So, our job, it's not so much about the individual slides or the piece of code or the little bit of snippet that somebody's got. It's about building that relationship, building a way to think about things, allowing you to think outside the box, to open your mind, as Adam Engst once said in an article that I thought was a great way to put it. But the idea is, how do you walk away really having grown in your skill set, not on an individual piece of knowledge, but in the way you go about attacking a problem? And that's what conference is about. So we do this in several ways. One of which is to make sure that you get to focus all the time on the task at hand, which is meeting people, sharing experiences, building relationships, learning things. That means that we're feeding you 13 times in the 3 days of the main conference that start, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breaks, and whatnot, all the way through up to Friday at 5, on there starting Wednesday morning. And on the pre-conference workshops, there's, a couple breaks and lunch there as well, so we're feeding you there as well. But then in the evenings, instead of having to go figure out where are we going to go to eat, what are we going to go do, some group of people end up being a clique or whatever going off in some place, this is a way for you to go to a place, have an amazing experience, have a ton of fun in the process of doing it, and meet this person and then that person and another person and, everything from race them at something to play an arcade game or whatever it is that we've done during the party nights to these learning experiences. Last year on our Wednesday night, we had an expert come and talk about the V2 rocket. And there are people in the room, much to my surprise, that, maybe don't love space as much as I do or other people. I don't understand what the issue is. No, I'm kidding. But what was really, really neat was that I had a whole bunch of those people come up to us and go, that was really cool about the V2 rocket. It had, how was it made and the history behind it. There was a lot that this guy was offering up. It was pretty incredible, actually. But it was really interesting for them beyond just, it wasn't a love of space. It was just interesting, to them to do. And that gets them talking to one another, and it builds a relationship, and it builds a bond. And that's what MacTech Conference is all about.
MacVoices is supported by eero, the wireless mesh network solution that you need. Visit eero.com to get yours and use the code MacVoices at checkout to receive free overnight shipping. When I was ready to set up my eero network, I set aside an hour to be able to test everything and make sure it was working, and then to start getting familiar with all of eero's capabilities. We all know that wireless routers take time to understand to get the most out of them. Boy, was I wrong. Opening the box was easy enough, and I was confronted with the eero and 2 beacons. First thing to do was to download the eero app, which the box said would guide me through setup. The app informed me that everything except my cable modem was in the box, ready to go, and it was. The app walked me through the process, telling me what lights to look for on the eero, what color they should be, and what was going on in the background. I was back online in just a few minutes. Next came the eero beacon. I placed the first one in an upstairs bedroom at one end of the house to make sure it was well covered. The beacon plugged into an unused wall outlet, and by the time I got back downstairs, eero had detected the beacon and asked me to name its location. And that was it. The The process repeated with the second beacon, just as fast and just as easy. No additional setup, no testing, no nothing. All my devices were back online with no problems. What I discovered in the next couple days was exactly what eero tells you to expect. I had stronger, better signals all over the house. In fact, I had signals into the yard, and the street, and beyond. What might be the best part of all, the eero is managed completely through the iOS app. There is no intimidating control panel to log into or settings to mess with. Just a tap will tell me the health of my network, let me know what devices are connected to the network, and gives me information about those devices and what they're doing. At the current time, there are 24 of them, and eero gives me the option to block any of them from the network with a tap. What I'm trying to say is that eero is not only a better coverage experience, it's a better setup experience and a much better management experience. If you want to set it and forget it, you can do that. If you want to play around with the settings and the capabilities that eero gives you, you can do that too, without fear of what you might be doing or undoing, because it's all easy to understand, just plain English and icons. I can give you some of the technical details, like how the new second generation eero has added a third radio, making it a tri-band system that is twice as fast as before, about how the eero beacons are backward compatible with the first generation eeros, and about how the beacons are mesh network points, not extenders, so that you're really getting the most out of your online connectivity. I could tell you that, but what you really need to know is it's just as easy as I've described. What you need to do, though, is find out for yourself. Visit eero.com and learn about what they offer. Dig in to see how it works, or just take my word for it and order your eero now. If you use the code MacVoices at checkout, you will get free overnight shipping, so you can have your eero up and running by tomorrow. And believe me, it's that fast. Order a pizza, and you'll be able to set up your eero long before the pizza's delivered. It's that simple. You're going to love your new mesh network, but you're going to have to order it first. So go to eero.com and get free shipping with the code MacVoices at checkout. Thanks to eero for their support of MacVoices. And that's the reason to go to conferences. I mean, we all do the social networking thing. We all have all kind of front channels and back channels and side channels of communications with each other, but there's nothing like sitting down across the table or beside somebody for breakfast, lunch, dinner, at a session, leaning over and saying, hey, that was really interesting, or that's really important. And you're right, that creates bonds that go way beyond the conference.
And it has an amplification effect across the next year for somebody. So, when you meet somebody in person and you have established that relationship and you have that established rapport and you ask them a question, they not only know a little bit about what you're doing because you've established this relationship with them, but they're more likely to answer you in a way that's helpful because you're a human being. You're not just a bunch of characters coming across the screen. And we forget this so often with social media, to do. I mean, there's so much noise. This is a way to really focus in and have that one-on-one conversation just the way I am with you.
Yeah. I hear this from Mike Horton and Dan Berube for the Super Meets. I hear it from Mike Potter with MacStock. I hear it from you with MacTech. It's about the people.
Yeah.
That's so much. I mean, the content has to be there because you are spending a significant amount of money and, more importantly, a significant amount of time to get there and attend. But at the end of the day, it really is about making those connections in relation to something that you all have in common and need to learn, want to learn, that go take back and use in your businesses.
Or said otherwise, the people, the content, and the experience. And that's why the tagline of the conference is what it is, because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And I used to stand on stage and say, our objectives here are to fill your mind, to fill your stomach, to have a whole lot of fun, and to send you home exhausted. And if we accomplish those things, there's really no way you can lose. I mean, it's like that's a guaranteed win recipe. And so that's what we try to do with conference, and we try to do it year after year after year, and we've done well at doing it. I'm pleased with how we have been able to do that time and time again.
And of course, right now for this interview, we're talking just about the main MacTech conference. But you've broken that off and sent it around the country to various cities, so the folks that can't do the traveling still can get a lot of the experience.
Yeah, so the regional events, this year we did 9 of them. They're called MacTech Pro this year. We were in 9 cities, Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, Chicago, Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and Orlando. I think I got them all. Those events were about 2 types of people, IT pros and consultants who are serving SMB and whatnot. Those events are 1 day, lunch and breaks included with it, with sessions are on topics that we really think that people want to know. But it's a single room, it's a hotel, single track, so it's just everybody's in the same stuff. You get a chance to talk to vendors, and it's really, really useful to do it. And soon, I won't say exactly when soon is because we're not quite ready to say that part of it, but we're going to be announcing the 2018 schedule for what the regional events, the 1-day events, will look like next year. And we're looking at right now, what are the cities that make sense to go to? What are the cities that make sense to go back to? What are some of the topics that we want to look at? Are there any changes that we want to make to any of the format stuff? Some of it is like absolutely just it's a formula that works, so don't change it. And other parts, we always want to make sure that we're asking the question: are we doing this in the right way? Are we doing that in the right way? And we do that for our conference, and we do that for the regional events in there. But conference is the main event right now, right? So MacTech Conference, again, we talked about it's the week before Thanksgiving, so it's November 15, 16, 17. We're a few weeks out. There are folks that can there are ways to get some extra discounts on it. Like your readers your listeners are able to get a special discount that will save them an extra couple $100 for them. So you'll have that link to be able to give them as well here in a little bit. Great. And so, that is always something that is super interesting for people to be able to do is how do they get to save a little bit extra money, whether it's for their company or otherwise on it. The hotel has been fully updated on all the guest rooms on it, and it's a Westin, so it's a nice set of offerings, and we've negotiated an incredible rate. And did you know that Los Angeles Airport, LAX, is the only airport in the country that is the hub for all the major carriers? There is no other airport in the country that does that. So flights are plentiful, and it's easy to get in, and it's easy for people to make a decision even now at a few weeks out from the event.
I did not know that. That's an interesting little tidbit.
I was shocked when I heard it because I figured, well, what about JFK? What about Atlanta? Right? Yeah. And no, they are not the hub for all the major carriers. Only LAX.
Oh, then that makes it very easy for you to figure out where you should put it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we have going on. Now, some of the other stuff, there's just sort of we've rounded it out other than just security and some of the systems behind the system, incredible, content there that we have. We have everything from Jeanette Lee talking about Wi-Fi to essentials of log management, advanced Mac troubleshooting, how the command line is your toolbox, and how to use it for troubleshooting. Leon Lincoln is doing those. Unleashing the power of macOS through the command line is going to be by a new speaker for us, Avery Chipka, and that's just that group. We have on the storage side, Tim Stanley is going to talk about APFS. We have Sean Collins talking about file sharing performance and function optimization. We have on the programming and scripting side, Scott Neal is going to be doing a workflow automation pre-conference workshop. JD Strong is going to be doing a very asked for Python 101 pre-conference workshop as well. Python being sort of the inheritor of scripting moving forward in a lot of ways for people, especially since we don't know exactly what's going on with AppleScript. We have sessions on Swift Playgrounds. We have stuff about AppleScript Objective-C. We have PyObc. We have Sal Zagoyan talking about an automation surprise that we're putting together and holding a little bit close to the vest at the moment so that people can be really, really intrigued by it. But then we have stuff on deployment. Greg Nagel is going to be doing getting started with Monkey. So if you wanted to get going with Monkey, here's the father of Monkey doing the workshop. So sign up for that and go. Joel Rennick, who's done a great job of a whole bunch of stuff in the Mac community, is going to be talking about Nomad and the future of directory services. Greg Nagel is going to be doing a session on Imaging is Dead. Now what do? We have Charles Edge talking about We're building up to something, but what is it? And really talking about how we're going to deal with things on a deployment point of view. Dave Elliott from FileWave is going to be talking about Docker on macOS, something that people don't always understand, and he'll be able to help people really get a good feeling for that. And then on the clients and communication side, we talked. Adam Hanks is going to be doing a pre-conference workshop. Adam and Tanya Hanks are going to be doing a pre-conference workshop on creating compelling content strategies and keeping people informed. Ben Levy, along with Phil Goodman, are going to be talking about how to talk security with your clients. Max and Derek are going to be talking about how to conduct a successful new client onboarding and then keep them for the long haul. And then what do you do to actually present to them and so that you can get them to buy off on the things that you want to be doing? And the list goes on and on. So I just ran through a whole bunch of stuff. And if somebody didn't find several nuggets in there of things that would be useful to them, I'm wondering if they're maybe working on Android and Windows.
Yeah. Ooh, don't say that.
Just kidding.
I can tell you, you're killing me because it's, I'm ticking off like, yeah, I'd like to see that. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Yeah, I'd really like to see that.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Not to mention our Wednesday night experience and our Thursday night party. And I will say no more than that.
See, now that's hardly fair.
Oh, it's totally fair. Totally fair.
Well, okay, so talk a little bit about some of the past experiences. Since you won't tell us what this one is, just to give people an idea of the level of things that you do.
Yeah, so, in the past, we've done, like last year, our keynote speaker last year was NASA's chief engineer for human exploration. The head geek over about 20% of NASA's budget. Okay? So this guy, everybody was like, well, how does this make sense to us? It's like, just watch.
Yeah.
So Marshall gets up. Marshall was asking, how does this make sense? And I'm like, just trust me on this. This is going to work. So he goes and he talks about them going to Mars. And he lays out the plan. And then he says, yeah, so I have to deal with enterprise-level collaboration in a way that's very different from things that you've experienced. Because he's got I think it's something like 9,000 people under him. And, he's got all kinds of organizations, some government, some private, and the cultures are different. And there are different time zones in countries. And oh, my God, what a mess, right? And so he talked about enterprise-level collaboration, NASA style. And so that was continued into the evening where I told you the V2 rocket expert was talking about the history of the V2. And that was followed up by the guy from Aerojet Rocketdyne who laid out what they're doing on what they literally call big-ass rockets. And big-ass rockets are what we need to go to Mars and what we need to get up into space. Of course, that was followed by JPL doing a full-on exhibit presentation in the back of the ballroom as we kind of turned our heads the other direction. And you could go see all the projects that they're currently working on, some of the stuff that's coming down the pike, some models of things that they've got going on. It was really a phenomenal experience. And then when you were done with that, you went upstairs and you saw a screening of Adam Nimoy's For the Love of Spock, the sort of the love note that he wrote to his father. And there was a talk back at the end of that by one of the producers and editors of the movie. That was one night.
That's one night. That's one night in 1 year. 1 night in 1 year. Yeah. As I recall, there have been, I think...
We've done some other things. We've gone to Disney Animation Studios and seen some behind-the-scenes stuff. We, 1 year, went to the Griffith Observatory the first year and saw behind the scenes how they did some of that. 1 year, we went to see the Shuttle Endeavour, and a number of the guys that worked on the shuttle walked around and sort of said, okay, so the tiles are numbered like this for this reason, right? Or this is what this rocket, with this engine looks like. That's basically a rocket, on the back of the shuttle. And it was so funny because you'd see this kind of grouping of people walk around following each of the docents. It was hilarious and it was great. We've had autonomous rovers from that are being done in research in order to figure out how to send things into dangerous places. They were based on Mac Minis, actually. That was actually kind of cool. We've 1 year we saw a screening of the Steve Jobs movie and then ripped it to shreds for all the fallacies that were in it. it was actually a really useful experience for people because the movie just had so much wrong with it. To be able to talk to people about what exactly was wrong with it was a really useful thing for people to be able to do. So, so we've done all kinds of stuff over the years on it, and the party is fun.
Yeah.
You got to do, but we do other things too. We'll do random lunch assignments so that people can meet new people. We have lunch topic tables on Friday for people to gather together and do things. Even this year, we actually have the hotel for those people that don't live in Southern California and maybe are not used to the weather that we have in Southern California. There's a run concierge and a surf concierge that the night before you tell them, hey, I want to go running down on the beach or whatever. And they'll say, okay, let's gather down in the lobby at this time. And we're going to go run or walk on the beach or whatever down, in the morning on it. On Tuesday night, there's going to be a shuttle that's going to take people after the pre-conference workshops on up to 3rd Street Promenade, which is a famous Santa Monica walking pedestrian street that's there, where there's some performers and restaurants and things for people to do, and they're just going to keep shuttling people back and forth, the whole time. We have a shuttle that will take people down the other direction, down to the Strand, which is another pier and stuff is on it. So if you wanted to have the opportunity to kind of see LA, it's sort of a jumping off point, a gateway into other places. And we're going to help people with some information about what things they can go see and how they'd go about doing it. You can even rent a zip car right in the hotel and go.
So you've got it all covered.
That would be the goal.
So
are you in pain yet?
Yes, I was in pain when we started this, and you've made it just so much worse.
Yes. Excellent.
Yeah, you say
you
this
always
to you.
depend on me to just turn that knife. Just a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give us the details on attending. I know we've said it's the week before Thanksgiving. It's obviously in LA. What kind of pricing? Are there different levels, or is it just one price and it includes all the food and everything?
Well, yeah. So it includes all the food and activities, and it's a lot of food and activities. So, and it's a lot of days of doing this as well. And so, nobody ever goes home hungry from a MacTech event. I mean, that just doesn't happen that way. I one time I was walking around from one table to the next, and I said, "Get enough to eat?" And one guy said, "No." I didn't even say a word. The people at the table shot this guy a look that could kill, going, "Are you kidding me? There's all this food right here. What are you doing?" And it was just, that guy never was going to say anything about being hungry again. I didn't say a word. Anyway, the standard pricing is $15.99, and there's a pre-registration discount right now that's at $13.99. And MacVoice listeners, through the URL that you'll be able to give folks, will be able to save an additional $200 off of that as well, which brings it to the early bird pricing that's already expired behind us, but it's the same as that pricing that's there. So it'll be $11.99 for the 3 days, and then if there's some pre-conference options, which they vary based on a half day, full day, and whatever, but there's a whole list of them that are there. So
okay, and the website is
if you go to conference.mactech.com/go/MacVoices. You'll be able to get the special pricing for MacVoices listeners.
Great. And of course, folks, I'll have that in the show notes, so you can just go to MacVoices.com, find this episode, click, and you'll be right there. But you can also go there directly.
There you go.
Yeah, Neil, you were twisting the knife pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
But definitely, I know right now this is where your focus is, as it should be.
Sure.
But once the dust settles and you recover and are ready, come back and let us know about the 2018 MacTech conferences, the regionals.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure folks know about those and can take full advantage of them.
Absolutely.
And it's good luck with everything, as if you need it. With everything you just mentioned,
it's funny.
It'll just happen.
We're just doing some tallies of stuff, and I'll give your folks a little bit of a preview. At MacTech Conference this year, we will have done our 1,000th session.
Wow.
So in the last 8 years, we've done over 100 events with almost 350 unique speakers doing over 1,000 sessions, and we have served over 35,000 food servings at these events.
That's impressive.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
So it's cool. We're going to keep
Well, yep. Well, yeah, don't stop. Don't stop. I will get there. One year, I swear I will get there.
I've been hearing that for a long time.
Yeah, I know. But I will.
In fairness to your listeners, we do keep picking a date that is specifically, it's great for everybody except for Chuck.
Except me, yeah. I'm honored that I get that kind of consideration. Thank you.
Yeah, if there is a thing, what are the dates that are bad for Chuck? That's how we pick the date for the.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Just the Chuck Joyner Memorial Conference.
Absentee conference.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Neil, thanks so much. It's great to see you.
My
Good
pleasure.
luck with it, and we'll look forward to talking to you about MacTech 2018.
There you go. Talk to you
All
soon.
right. Thanks. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. Again, if you have any interest in this stuff, and man, with that lineup, how could you not have interest? Go check it out. Save the money using the URL that Neil gave us, and let me know how it goes, because I'm really jealous. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes, links to subscribe, and to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud, the MacVoices blog, the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter, and on MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard that helps you do more with your Apple tech. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com, bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.